Hey there, listeners. What's up? We're here in the beautiful nation. I don't even know what this is anymore. Of Hawaii. I'm your host, as always, Tristan. With me today, as always, also his son, Shaka, brah, catch some waves.
I don't like
Street
Hawaii
dog.
and Tristan.
You don't like Hawaii and Tristan? Why don't you like Hawaii and Tristan?
Why
Why don't you like Hawaii and Tristan?
probably.
What's wrong with Hawaii and Tristan?
Hawaii and Tristan's one of those white people who goes over there and kind of pushes out the natives and act like he owns the place.
But okay, look, no, first off, I'm on vacation, so relax. First off, second off, I'm not pushing anybody out unless I have to. Second off, I almost said second off. I'm drunk. Third off, I got this here tiki drink, and that's just, I mean, that's Hawaiian, right?
I'll be honest, I don't know enough about Hawaiian culture to know if it is or is not.
The answer may surprise you. But hey, we're here with some fresh vibes, and I'm like just rolling on this beach, looking for some street toughs to take down. That may or may not be native Hawaiians, and therefore I've been pushing them out of their own home. But that is on them for being street toughs.
Got some good news about Hawaii. It definitely has some crime for you to get involved in.
You know what? Once I get my pooks on, I'm gonna fucking throw down with some crime. Take those guys out. And then I'm gonna be number one, the best criminal of all time in Hawaii.
Can't wait to get our pooks on.
Yeah. I got some for you too, Hassan.
Yay.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 rows of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
And a couple of different shades of puka. They dye them now.
Great, I can look real 2001.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's go, brah.
Yeah.
Let's get on.
Up the Shaka.
Oh, I've been doing that for the entire time. Ooh, it feels so good to throw up the Shaka. Ooh, yeah. So, when we're gonna do this, like, I'm already in Hawaii, obviously. And, what are you gonna, so we can, like, form a gang and then start beating the crap out of street thugs.
Oh, yeah. No, see, I got sick and I had to head back, so I'm not in Hawaii anymore.
What?
Yeah, no, I got sick, so I couldn't stay there.
You got sick in Hawaii?
Yeah.
So you're not here anymore.
Well, I was sick before I got there. It's just it really, flared up, and that's when I had to come back.
So what you're saying is I have to take on street crime on myself.
Yeah.
Man, like, I just, God, you think somebody is like resourceful and can be counted on to take down street crime with you, and then this happens, and now it's just like, well, what am I gonna do? Like, I need a gang, Hassan.
Just believe in the power of friendship, and your friends will be there, and they'll solve that. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think that's what I was doing, and you're not here. You're back home somewhere.
I don't like
living
Kenny,
your normal life.
Greg and Andrew, they can come over there and help you. Don't worry.
No, you cannot count on them in a fight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I guess I don't know.
None of them have the guts to put a knife in somebody else's guts.
Nobody. Yeah, none of them have the killer instinct. I, however, could do that. You, I figured, could do that as well.
Yeah.
But apparently...
That's fair. I definitely let you down here.
You did. And now you know what? You gotta make it up to me.
Well, how?
Well, I'm in Hawaii. Tell me about a place where Hawaii. Tell me about a cool thing where Hawaii is set in. Where
thank
that's
God,
set in Hawaii.
Because there's something that I've been involved in. Been playing recently, set in Hawaii. A little something called Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, the 9th mainline installment of the Like a Dragon, previously called Yakuza series.
It was called Yakuza. It's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, to give some preamble on it, so this game came out this year, 2024.
Yes.
As I just said, so it's the 9th installment. So previously, the series was called Yakuza. So you had Yakuza 0 through 6.
Yep.
Then you had Yakuza Like a Dragon, and now it's just officially the Like a Dragon title, which is the name that the series has always had in Japan. So they are now just aligning that to
they've always been called Like a Dragon?
Yes.
Interesting.
So
I actually did not know that. Okay.
Always been the name of those games in Japan.
Huh.
It was outside of Japan that they called it Yakuza. That's why they changed the name and shifted it a little bit.
It's kind of like when Resident Evil puts out DLC, it's like, oh, BioShock DLC.
Biohazard, yeah.
Or Biohazard, yes. Biohazard.
And so this game, as like all the mainline, a continuation of the story. So the previous game, Yakuza: Like a Dragon, was a major shift for the series. So Yakuza's 0 through 6 were more of a true action combat game. Yakuza or Like a Dragon's roots are basically, hey, it's kind of a not continuation, but a sole successor in a way to Shenmue. So plays a lot like that. You run around a city, you get into fights where you punch and kick dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, major shift in that all the previous Yakuza games, either the protagonist or one of the protagonists was Kiryu Kazuma.
Yeah.
AKA
it's like Kiryu.
Yes, let me just 1 second. Let me just go through his names for you here.
He's got monikers, for days.
Kiryu Kazuma, aka Taichi Suzuki, Joryu, Inmate 1240, Dragon Mask, Judgment Kazi, the Dragon of Dodima, Star of Kamurocho, Uncle Kaz, Kaz, Kazuchan, Kakun, Mr. Mesuking, Juntaro, Kiryuin.
The Kazuchan one is really good when you actually know where that one comes from, and it's not like it's not a good thing that it's being called that. In a way,
I think my favorite is always just Uncle Kaz.
Let's say that's the kids that call him that, right?
It's specifically his adopted daughter, as she is known, Haruka. She's the one that kind of started it. I've always big scary Yakuza guy and just Uncle Kaz.
Uncle Kaz.
But
yeah,
Yakuza: Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
Change it. We get our new hero Ichiban Kasuga, the rock bottom dragon. It now becomes a turn-based JRPG style combat layered on top of the previous gameplay of running around in the city and doing all that. And the reg's very similar. And so they then kind of branched off and they created the Judgment series for people who still wanted the previous style of gameplay. And so
action combat,
basically anybody, if you've either played a Judgment or if you've played any of the past games from Ryuga Gotoku, the studio, you'll know what to expect of this game from its writings, from its character. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say any of them because they have been involved in other things, not using the RGG moniker. Like they were involved in Super Monkey Ball stuff and F-Zero games.
Oh yeah, they were. That's true. Yes.
Yes. But
that's fun.
post that, not under that name. All their games have very similar writing and gameplay. And so, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, direct sequel to the previous game. It's set 3 years after it. And so, a quick summary of the last game basically involves Ichiban getting tangled up in this... The plot is basically that the two big Yakuza factions in Japan, the Tojo clan and the Omi Alliance, they're because of the way the government has changed the rules, they're going to dissolve. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
We don't have time to get through it. But at the end of it, basically, Ichiban becomes what's known as the hero of Kamurocho because he is involved in stopping this government lies that were being used to try and push out the Yakuza. And so...
The government lying? Never.
Yeah.
Never.
And so when we start this game, he's kind of living his best life. Like, literally, it has this montage sequence of him kind of, strutting down the street, finger guns at people, checking in on friends, having some drinks. It's all good. Anyone who's ever played a Like a Dragon or Judgment game, it's like, I know where this is not.
Nope.
You're trying to make me feel good to knock me down later.
He's
Game.
Lose this in
don't
10
believe
seconds.
You. But basically, Ichiban is focused on trying to help Yakuza get back on their feet to find a living in a very hostile Japan towards them, and this is something throughout the Like a Dragon franchise. Judgment has less of it, but Like a Judgment, one of the things that it's always had as a sort of a core message that the series has is that people who exist in either the sort of gray areas of society, that being, people doing work that is generally frowned upon, but not necessarily, let's say, harmful. So things like sex workers, so whether you're in the gray or people straight up in, there's a term, the black parts of society. So, criminals, right? Yakuza.
Yeah.
It's always had this philosophy of they are not inherently evil or bad people, right? Hey, the way that society turns its back on these people, the way that it forces them into difficult situations, that, hey, once, things like sex workers of like, you can't have a bank account and list that as your income source, right?
Not so much,
Even though, you're not actively harming others.
No.
Just the way society treats it, the way that you get shunned, people spit on you in the street, that kind of thing.
Cool.
Call you names, right?
Yeah.
These games have always been, these people are there for reasons, and we shouldn't just treat them the way that we do. And so part of this game, when it opens, is like, oh, well, hey, Japan's had this edict that, these Yakuza organizations have dissolved, but these people are still Yakuzas, so there's all these restrictions. Like, they can't sign up for phone plans themselves.
Okay.
Like, hey, good, hey, good luck being an active member of society if you can't have a phone.
Yeah, exactly. So they've really fucked them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of it is about Ichiban is trying to get these people back on their feet, to find jobs that will be willing to employ them, to help get ways that they can get phones, etc.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is this online streamer who likes to report on crime stuff, the Tatara channel,
Go on. Yeah.
makes up a bunch of lies about how he's still involved in Yakuza stuff and he's helping them to still commit crimes, and society turns against him. So this then leads to gotta find the right name here. He gets reached out to by this person, Eiji Mitamura, No, sorry, it's not Eiji who reached out. It is Masataka Ebina. Reaches out and he's like, hey, I'm this Yakuza guy. I'm also trying to help Yakuza get back on their feet. And hey, here's this Yakuza guy who used to work for your boss, that he was your enemy, but now he's working for me and he's got news.
Convenient.
It's like, hey, Ichiban, your mother's still alive. So need to go to Hawaii to meet her because she wants to meet you.
To Hawaii, you say?
Yeah,
We're
Hawaii,
going to
so
Hawaii?
we can get our pooks on.
Yeah! Finally. Okay, well, all right.
And
We're not
so Ichiban heads to Hawaii. Tons of stuff happens. We get introduced to all these new characters. I don't have time to go through everything in the plot.
What?
Yeah.
Um,
Ichiban
Sure.
ends up meeting up with our old pal Kiryu, and so
Whoa, what's he doing in Hawaii? Is he...
Oh boy, trying to get into Kiryu stuff. So, Kiryu at the end of Yakuza 6 is basically, hey, a lot of stuff's been going on. People get hurt in my life because of all this involvement. I'm going to pretend I'm dead.
Yeah, you don't... Yeah, good call.
Yeah, so he ends up not quite recruited, but he ends up being...
Yeah.
partnered with, what I'll call it,
Okay.
this group called the Daidoji faction, which is a sort of government group. He's sort of working for them, got sent to Hawaii as part of like one of their missions. Tons of stuff happens. We get to meet some new characters who are actually really fun and enjoyable, like Eric Tomizawa, who he's half Hawaiian, I think he's half Hawaiian, half Japanese. He's definitely Japanese at the very least, but
Cool.
born and raised in Hawaii.
Yeah.
We also get Chitose Fujinomiya, who she's kind of like, it's weird. So, Yakuza's always had Yakuza style characters, wearing suits and kind of street thugs like that. She's a little bit more like American kind of streetwear, which is kind of a first for this series, where,
That's
wearing like
interesting.
more sweats with like braided hair and stuff.
Okay.
So it's
Hell yeah.
it's a change in look that I really appreciated.
That is cool because, like, you do not see that a whole lot.
No,
okay.
like the previous one, Yakuza Like a Dragon, several of those characters had much more of that kind of largely African American kind of like African American visuals that get associated with sort of criminal organizations, for lack of a better term. Just, baggy pants, like big sneakers, that kind of visual.
Yeah.
It had more characters like that, so it really kind of changed up and gave the Ichiban stuff a little bit more of its own visuals that somewhat helped to differentiate it from the
That's
past
cool.
with
That's
Kiryu,
cool.
or even Judgment to a certain extent. But what ends up happening is, as part of this, we learn that Kiryu has cancer and is dying.
Oh no.
And sorry, just to rewind shortly. So Ichiban gets sent to find his mother. Turns out his mother's disappeared. She's wrapped up in something big and important. We're not sure what yet. Kiryu is also searching for her. So that's why him and Ichiban team up. That's when we learn about Kiryu's cancer. Now, Tristan,
Yes.
as somebody who has played a Judgment game, I want you to take a guess at what insane logic they used to come up with of how Kiryu could get cancer.
Okay. I got a couple.
Let's hear.
First off, he's just too manly. So,
It's a good guess. No.
no. Second off, some sort of animal.
That would also be a good guess. No.
Third off, the government did it and planted basically some weird cancer-causing agent inside of his body, and therefore he's fighting against them to try and cure that. But in doing so, he's on a ticking time bomb that is going to essentially explode if he completes his mission.
Nope, that's too logical and reasonable. You see, the way that he
Sorry, it was too
got
Kojima.
cancer,
I gotcha. Yeah.
The way that he got it is so because his whole thing is he wants to be like dead to society.
Yeah.
So, but there's a spin. Spin is a bad way to put it, but there is a non-mainline entry that is supplemental to the start of this game that is about Kiryu, and it is literally called The Man Who Erased His Name.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so that's the idea. Kiryu wants his name to be dead. He doesn't want society to know he's there. He wants to be hidden. So as part of that, the Daidoji faction are like, we got you. We're going to have you go work underground, literally under the ground at a facility where we store radiated
nuclear waste. Really?
Yes. So things like, it's mostly low radiation stuff. So things like clothing and equipment that would be used in a nuclear facility.
Sure.
And one day while he's working there, a forklift operator has a heart attack, crashes into a bunch of these barrels. The barrels are kind of falling down on this guy. So Kiryu rushes in there to save the guy. His suit gets hit by one of the barrels, and it gets torn open. And so a bunch of this material goes in him, and that's how he gets it. That is how dumb these games are. It's fantastic writing. Just 10 out of 10 stupid. I love it.
So this forklift operator, he crashed.
Oh, he doesn't matter. He doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, but so Kiryu rushed in to save the forklift operator, right?
Uh-huh.
How was he at risk?
Because it's like stacked up barrels, and these barrels were falling down on top of the forklift.
Okay. They have a cage for...
the forklift have fallen on its side as part of that.
Okay, fine, I guess. Yeah. You can just get out,
No,
though.
Kiryu had to rush in and save this. Yeah, it's so stupid. But, so for Kiryu, his whole thing is that because of his past and all this...
Yes.
He's not fighting to try and survive. He's kind of just resignated to dying. And a lot of his story and progression is just about him kind of coming to realize that for all the harm he has caused to people, all the negative things that have gone on in his life, all the baggage and weight that is bearing down on him, that there are people around him who do care about him, who do love him, and that he has been this force for good in people's lives, and that they want him to keep fighting. And it's actually one of the big complaints I have with this game. I do really like this game, but it has several things that I think drag it down. And so one of those is going back to Kiryu. I don't really love that. For a couple of reasons. So one is joked about at the beginning, but when Kiryu brings up he has cancer, he ends up having to go back to Japan. And when he goes back there, you get to control him and his party separately from Ichiban and his party in Hawaii.
Okay, sure.
But the party that is with Kiryu, he gets all characters from the previous game, Yakuza Like a Dragon. So that is Nanba, Saiko, Jungi, and Seonhee. And those are all characters who are new to that last game. They're characters who otherwise have almost no connection to Kiryu other than you briefly meet him in the previous game. But
sure.
All these emotional moments of Kiryu going through his past and kind of coming to terms with how he shouldn't give up on life are had with these characters that he hasn't previously had this deep and meaningful relationship with. Meanwhile, characters that he actually would have important relationships with. So
are they in Hawaii?
No, so they only show up briefly. So the main ones I'm thinking of would be Goro Majima, Taiga Saijima, and Daigo Dojima, who they're all Yakuza members that have shown up in multiple games. They have these deep relationships with him.
Yep.
They're only in this game very briefly. And so it's just this really weird moment where the game will like go through Kiryu's past, and literally some of them just involve walking up to certain stores and shops that are either in Ijincho or Kamurocho, which are two cities that have been in multiple of these games now.
Yep.
And also that they've been in the Judgment game, so where you've played them, you would literally be familiar with some of these shops. You'd be like, yeah, I've been to that restaurant like 8 times.
I have
in
busted
Judgment
the
alone.
windows of this burger place multiple times.
Yes, right.
That poor convenience store I have destroyed multiple times as well.
Right. So imagine me, who this is the 9th mainline series that I am seeing these places, and it's just Kiryu walking up being like, oh yeah, remember this moment from the 3rd game where this thing happened to me here? It's like, yeah, I remember it. I don't really need it. And also having these other people here is weird.
Yeah, a little bit.
There are good touching moments where a important character throughout kind of Kiryu's time is this detective Date. And he basically keeps bringing these people in so that Kiryu has a chance to meet them. So, like, one of them is the 2 hosts, Japanese bar hosts, these pretty boys, basically.
Yes.
Of this place called Stardust, and Kiryu's basically sees these Yakuza. They're about to rough it up, and they get beat up and thrown away by these guys. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's good to see they're there. And he walks up to one of the guys working there, and he's like, oh, it's good to see Stardust back on his feet. And this guy's all like, yeah, I know, right? You wouldn't believe it. There used to be this guy, Kiryu, and he brought a bunch of these Korean mafia dudes that closed the shop. Fuck that dude. He sucks. Like, oh, man. Yeah, that was... But Date sets up this situation where he invites these 2 guys from Stardust, so that it's just them and him in a bar, and they start talking about Kiryu, and the other 2 are like, yeah, Kiryu put us through some rough times. I would not trade that away for anything. Every day I miss him, and I am sad he is dead. Date's basically, Kiryu's literally like, there's a door half open that he's like, listening to all this through, and Date's kind of egging them on. He's like, oh, really? So, despite all these hardships, you still miss them. Like, yeah, Kiryu, sure, the guy was like a storm. He would bring chaos with him, but you still love him. He still means the world to you, and he still did so much to help us out. And maybe he would bring trouble, but he would fix that trouble too. Nothing would get in his way to correct anything that he caused. And it has those really touching moments. It's like, oh, this would just be just that little bit better if these moments were just with these characters, and it wasn't, hey, once this moment is done, I'm going back and Kiryu is having a heart-to-heart with Nanba, a character who before this I don't know if he had said more than 20 words to. And so
that's a bit of a problem.
That whole part of it's weird. Going to the Kasuga side of things, so his whole thing, I like his story a little bit more, although I still think it's weaker than it was in the last game. So his whole thing is he's searching for his mother. The thing I really like about his story and how it handles it, though, is that he doesn't really position it as he is searching for his mother. He positions it as he's searching for the woman that his he just calls him boss, but basically the head of the Yakuza group that he was a member of, the Arakawa family, Masumi Arakawa. he loved this woman, and she basically had to flee because Masami was in a relationship with her. His boss wanted him to be with a different woman, so this whole situation happens. Thought that she was dead and gone, and Ichiban at the end of the last game, he learns that Masami was his father, but he basically positions it as like, I don't know this woman, you know. Yeah, maybe she's my mother, maybe she's not. What I do know is that I loved the boss like a father, even though I didn't know he was one. I just want to give her this. He's got this little vial around his neck of the ashes of his boss who died in the last game, basically to be like, I just want to give it to her and, you know, hope that she can get some closure from this and just meet the woman that my boss loved so deeply, this father figure to me.
Makes
it's
sense.
like, oh man, Ichiban is just Ichiban and Kiryu are kind of different sides of the same coin, where
Yeah, I can see that.
Kiryu is just this really, you know, stone-faced, determined guy who, you know, he's literally called the Dragon of Kamurocho, Dragon of Dojima. And that's a really good name for him, because that's the thing. Kiryu is going to get through something through the inner strength that he has, his own, you know, determination, strength of will. Meanwhile, Ichiban on the other side is this absolute dumb idiot who's going to get through anything through sheer determination and love, through the power of his friendship and just through the kindness in his heart. Ichiban he's the worst Yakuza ever. He's
Awesome.
just this, because he's so nice. He's got such a good, pure heart. He just wants the best for everybody.
And it's like the best way I can do that is be a Yakuza.
Yeah. But that's his thing, and he has just this really touching thing. Like, oh man, you're the best Ichiban. Like, for example, one of the new characters in this game, Eric Tomizawa. So the way that Ichiban meets him is when he's leaving the airport, he gets in Eric's cab. Eric literally pulls him into an alleyway and tries to like rob him, pulls a gun on him.
Jesus, okay, yeah.
Ichiban's just like, no, I'm not worried. Eric's like, what are you talking about? I'll shoot you. It's like, I've seen what a man looks like when he'll shoot you, because I've been shot. Your eyes don't have that. And so eventually what you find out is Tomizawa does this because bunch of series of things happen, but basically this local gang, the Barracudas, framed him for a crime. He ended up having to go to jail. His fiance ended up having a miscarriage. So when he gets out, he ends up having to work for this local Yakuza group, and he's being forced into it. But basically, when this Yakuza group shows up with Tomizawa, Ichiban basically just extends a hand. He's like, hey man, I can tell you're not one of them. Come with me. I'll protect you from them. I'll make it so that you can stop having to live this life of crime and help you get back on your feet. And Tomizawa's like, you're an idiot. What are you doing? You're insane. This will never work out. Ichiban just like, just believe in me because I believe in you. And that is who Ichiban is. And it's just full of these moments like this. You're like, Ichiban, I love you. You're so stupid. This is incredible. This is great. To quickly get through the main plot line, because there are other things I want to talk about, and the main plot line I think is fine. So basically what ends up happening, getting revealed, is that the reason that Ichiban needs to find his mother, as well as all the local gangs are looking for her, is that there is a local religious group on this island called Palekana, who they are involved in all of the crime groups on this island as well. There's this the head of it, I'm trying to remember his name now, Bryce Fairchild. He's basically one of the main antagonists. He's the head of Palekana. He has teamed up with Ebina, the sort of Yakuza guy who told Ichiban he was trying to help the Yakuza get back on their feet. so that what they're going to do is convince the Japanese government that it should ship all of its nuclear waste over to Palicana's island in Hawaii to use them as a storage facility.
Fuck.
Palicana is going to use this because it's a bunch of money to them so that they can grow their power and continue
They're
to control the
Americans.
island.
They're used to nuclear waste. Fuck them.
Yeah. So Ichiban's whole thing, and the reason that they're looking for his mother is that his mother found this child who is actually the true heir to Palicana. So Ichiban's whole thing is he has to stop Bryce there and save his mother and this child. Meanwhile, back in Japan, Kiryu's group finds out that Ebina is actually Ichiban's brother and also the son of Masumi Arakawa, but they're half-brothers, different mothers, and that Ebina hates all the Yakuza because his father was one, and he views it as... And his father didn't know that he had been born, that he had this son. So Ebina's whole thing is he's basically setting up the Yakuza to go to this island and just basically die of nuclear poisoning because he hates the Yakuza.
Okay, sure.
And so Kiryu's whole thing is trying to stop them. So that's kind of the general main plot of it.
All right.
I like the main plot. Like I said, it has some really good moments. The way that it handles a lot of the same things we've seen in the past of, hey, just because people made mistakes in their past, they were criminals, whatever, you shouldn't turn their back on them. Like, and this is not just a Japan thing. This is true of culture in general, right? The way that, even specifically in Canada, the way that we treat criminals is
rough.
Just pretty disgusting in general, right?
It is, yes.
Be like, hey, maybe somebody did commit a serious crime. Maybe it was murder, right? They go to jail. The sort of societal contract that we kind of all agree to when it comes to things is it's supposed to be if you have committed a crime, you then go to jail. You serve your punishment. You come out. It's not like, oh, your record is supposed to be 100% clean, but you have paid your punishment. Yeah. And therefore, you should be able to now return as a member of society. But if you are a criminal, good luck renting any place that's decent. Good luck getting any kind of a job that, is going to pay more than minimum wage and treat you with respect, right? It just the way that we look at somebody who has done those sorts of things and the way that a criminal record haunts you constantly.
It really does.
It's so wrong. And the way that these games have always addressed that and tackled that and the ideas of redemption, it continues to do that fantastic.
Yeah.
With that said, the biggest problem with this game, there's too much of it all. I can see that. Buddy, let me tell you, I did not 100% this game. I did do 100% of all the main things, meaning I did the main story. I did all of the story side quests and what I would call the kind of main side quests, but I didn't do all of the mini games. I didn't do all of the dungeons. Didn't come close to 100%ing it. I have 77 hours in this game, and it's just too much. Same for the main story. It felt just a little bit too long, a little bit just too much of it. I would have been happier if they had tightened up and trimmed down the main story a little. I would have been happy if there were fewer side quests. And it's just across the board. It's not just the story parts of it. It's also things like, so because this is a more turn-based RPG, your characters get classes. And the classes in this are all silly, so it'll be things like cowboy, American football player.
Yeah.
But that also has things like, the traditional ninja. But it...
As you do.
I'm going to hate myself for saying this. It also has, like, surfer. Yeah, get the pooks. The surfer actually does wear sunglasses,
Get
too,
the pooks!
So.
You see, you put the pukas on your knuckles, and Brass poops.
Oh. No, they actually use a surfboard. At one point, you can get a surfboard that has like a jet engine on it. Yeah, no, they're silly weapons.
I don't think it's a surfboard anymore. Go on.
You know, but like, so like most games, because you have classes and your characters can change classes, those classes level up. And as they level up, they get new abilities.
Yeah, sure.
As they get those, you can retain some of those abilities. So changing classes have its advantages, but you want to get it to a certain level to get the like ultimate skills.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just like, there's too many classes in it. There are 10 controllable kind of party member characters. I think that's too many. Honestly, I would have been happier if it was just 8. So 4 for Kiryu, 4 for Ichiban, instead of, well, there's one character slot that you can rotate around. It's like, I'm just not that interested in constantly rotating in and out one character.
No, I can see anybody being that interested in that.
They're also, and I think this is true of a lot of JRPGs this day too, is that sometimes mechanics go a little bit too deep. So going into, say, your weapons, I actually prefer older JRPGs where you would just, to improve your weapon, you just buy a new weapon.
Yeah,
there's no leveling it up. There's no inserting gems to give it special skills, all that. So this has this, and it's like, I don't want to engage in any of that. I would much rather just streamline that a little bit and just have this game have been a little bit tighter, a little bit shorter. Another example where, so one of the things that this game added is something called Dondoko Island, which is basically Animal Crossing, but like dragonified.
Okay. All right. Wild.
I liked it. It's enjoyable. They do a good job with it. There's a weird, goofy story as part of it.
All right.
But that, I think I spent almost 10 hours doing that. And Like a Dragon has sort of always had a mini game like this. So whether that is, hey, you're running a hostess club, or hey, you're running the last one, it was a snack empire. You're basically, deciding, hey, we're going to produce this snack and sell it for this much, and this facility will make this snack and sell it for this much, and then we're going to run this kind of an ad. So they've always had these sort of mini games, but never have I had to put in 10 hours to see the story part of it to completion.
That's not great.
Yeah, so in this one, it's too long, and that just is across the board. You just see it of, and the reason that it has all of this is also what makes this franchise and most of the RGG, that's what the studio kind of abbreviates itself to. Yeah. They had an interview leading up to this game, and I cannot remember which publication or site did the interview, but one of the interesting ways that the director, I believe it was, talked about the games that they make and how they're able to put out their stuff at a much faster clip than other game companies these days, right? So
yeah, they do pump these out pretty quickly. I agree.
For example, the last game that like Naughty Dog put out was The Last of Us Part 2. I believe that came out in 2019 or 2018 maybe, but we'll say 2019 at the least. I'm pretty sure 5 years ago. 2019, 2020, something like that. Yeah, something either like way, that. So
a while ago.
5-ish years ago.
Yeah.
Since then, this studio has put out, just from 2020, they put out Yakuza Like a Dragon, Lost Judgment, the sequel to Judgment.
Yes.
They put out Like a Dragon Ishin, which is a massive remaster of a previous game. They put out Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and that's without including some of the smaller things that they worked on, like some of the Super Monkey Ball. But they got asked, hey, how do you do this? How do you put out so much stuff? And the answer that he gave was, it's because we view what we make as more like a TV series than a movie.
Oh,
and what he meant by that
clever.
is that if you think about something like a Naughty Dog, and I'm not trying to pick on them, you could choose any number of studios. You know, if you look at, say,
Remedy.
Remedy. I think another good example. But I would also, you could point to like Capcom with, say, like Resident Evil or any other stuff. But what they were saying is that, hey, these other studios treat games like movies, where basically they make the game, and then when they go to make a sequel to it, they change up everything. They kind of build. It's like, hey, well, it's set in a new place, so we have to rebuild all the sets from scratch, and the characters, they need new costumes, so you have to redo all your props from scratch.
Right.
We're a TV show, so we're more like, say, Game of Thrones, where, well, from season 1 to season 2, maybe you have some new locations, but you're mostly reusing the exact same, stages. You're filming in the same locations. Your characters are still going to be wearing the same suits of armor. You don't have to redo everything. So because we reuse the same cities, the same locations, because, hey, you referenced that burger spot, and I can't think of what the burger is, but like that's been in a lot of our games, so we don't have to completely come
like
up with
McDonald's.
Something like that. But like we don't have to redesign a completely new restaurant. So we're not spending time like, oh well, what's the logo, what's the name of it, what's the menu. Okay, well, somebody has to remake all these art assets and plan out where's it going to be in the city, right? So they can save themselves some time. But that's kind of the problem here, is that because they've been able to reuse these assets over and over and over, there's a lot of things that they've carried over without then necessarily dropping certain parts of it, going, you know what, let's get rid of this minigame. Let's drop this. Which is a shame, because it then means that some of the things they add, like there's a minigame in this that is, it's basically Crazy Taxi, but on a bicycle.
Yeah, I saw that in the trailer. It looked really cool.
Yeah, literally the like guy you go to start the minigame is just the green-haired guy from Crazy Taxi.
Fuck yes. Okay,
it's
cool.
Their version of him,
Yeah.
but I only did that, I think, twice because it has so many minigames that I didn't want to invest myself in a single minigame.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because it just ends up detracting from the peaks, the high moments. And there are some really good ones here. Some of the side quests and stories, they just continue to be so goddamn silly and fun. Like so in the past game, in Yakuza Like a Dragon, the 8th game, there was a story quest where this homeless guy by this river, he's lost his precious Nancy, which you find out is I would call it a langoustine, kind of a small lobster thing. I forget what the game calls her.
Crayfish?
Crayfish, I think is what they say.
Crawdaddy, if you will.
Yeah. So he's lost her. He's so upset. You think, oh, it's going to be this pet. Nope, he wants to eat her. He's been fattening him up. And so after you rescue Nancy, you're like, no, I'm not handing him over. You basically fight this guy and you keep her. And so then this game has this moment where just as Ichiban is leaving his place to head to Hawaii, Nancy is there in her little pod and she just snaps. She's like, oh, you want to come with me? All right. Puts her on his shoulder, heads off to the airport. You're like, that's stupid. Surely that won't come up. Later on, you get this storyline where Nancy sees this crab on the beach, and this crab has this shell that's covered in all these gems, but Nancy's all shy and doesn't know how to get this crab's attention until one day, the way that these quests work is, you'll do a chunk of it and then it kind of just pauses, we'll say. It doesn't show up in like a menu or anything.
Yeah.
And you'll kind of continue it. Mostly you can either check the mini map and it'll kind of show you like, hey, if you go here, this will trigger a quest. Sometimes you're just walking by. So you walk by and hear these guys on the beach are like, oh, you see that crab? We're pretty sure it's got treasures from this ship that sunk off this thing. We're going to go steal its shell. So you're like, oh no, Nancy, we have to go there.
Yeah.
And so you go there and it literally is, yep, these guys are there to steal it. So Nancy, helps you fight off these guys on the beach so it can keep its shell, but then it doesn't care about its shell because it found love with Nancy.
Aww.
This is so stupid.
Crab
this is
and
so
Langoustine together
goddamn
last.
stupid.
Yes.
In the same game where I'm just fighting off Yakuzas, I got this story mission that involves having a crawdaddy or a crayfish or a langoustine, whatever it is, and a crab falling in love. It's full of fun, just dumb side quests like that. I will say, not enough dudes ripping off their shirts and punching each other. Very little of that.
It's Hawaii. Why wouldn't there be that? Come on. Game, come on.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, the guy who's the head of the Yakuza group in this, Yamai, I really like him. But his whole thing is that he's constantly cold, even though he's in Hawaii. So he's in a full suit jacket, and then he's got a pea coat jacket on top of it just to try and stay warm.
The fuck is wrong with this guy? It's Hawaii.
And he like fights with a crowbar and just messes up dudes at one point with it. He's really good. I really like him as a character.
Cool.
But for all my complaints, I really like this game. Yakuza and Like a Dragon and Judgment. There is, I think, no other game series, and I don't think there are very many media and entertainment just IPs, for lack of a better term, out there that manage to be both as touching and serious as Like a Dragon, while also having those dumb, goofy moments, right? And I think part of it is because it is a video game. It is capable of doing that. It would be exceptionally difficult for something more linear, a book, a TV show, a movie, to manage to do what these games do. And I won't say it's impossible, because I think something like Everything Everywhere All at Once actually is kind of similar in that way, of having these really dumb, goofy, silly moments. Have you seen that movie?
Of course I have, yes.
Okay. So, for example, the amount of time between the scene where there's the one dude who does, he goes to fight Michelle Yeoh, does all the kung fu moves, but he ends up falling on top of an anal plug.
Oh, yeah.
To Michelle Yeoh having this heartfelt moment with her daughter to stop the multiverse from imploding on itself is basically like 3 to 4 minutes, I think.
0 to 60, yeah.
So it's not impossible to do this, but I think one of the things that helps Yakuza to not feel like, wow, there's some real whiplash of, hey, it's having these heartfelt moments, and then hey, here's this plot line where it involves this Yakuza clan who runs around in diapers because the head of it is into like baby role playing.
No. It's so the way I see the way they plot things out to make this work for me. From when I've just played Judgment and a little bit of Judgment 2. Basically, it's like, okay, here's the crazy thing, and then we slowly just let it kind of drop into the valley of normalcy, and then it's back again, and then we go back there. Yeah,
and I think the thing that helps that, though, is it lets you control that, right?
It does,
You choose to go do a side mission thing that's going to be wacky. Yeah. You chose to go do a mini game versus you chose to continue the serious story.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps to let you pace it out and prepare yourself for these moments, because
I agree with that.
Not so much this game, but I will say, the ending of the last game, I definitely teared up in it when Ichiban is just giving this speech to this character who he's like, no, you are my brother. I know we're hitting rock bottom. I have been at rock bottom, but I will be here to help you get back. And then that man gets stabbed, and just Ichiban's soul shatters. He has seen his dad die only, days before this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, that's rough. But like, the man who erased his name, I straight up just tears rolling down my eyes, because there's this moment where the kids of the orphanage basically realize that, oh, there's this camera here. Maybe this is Uncle Kaz, and it's them leaving these messages, and basically he gets handed this drawing left by his sort of adopted grandson, and Kiryu is just bawling, and then I'm just like, Kiryu, you deserve to be happy. And this certainly has those moments where I'm like pretty sad, but not quite that same level. But
yeah.
It's some solid writing in this.
Good.
Both the mini side stories, the main story. I really like it. The last thing I'll say, though, is I cannot in good conscience recommend it to anybody who is not already interested in it. The reason being, this is the 9th installment in this series. And it heavily relies on the Kiryu part of it, that you have some attachment to Kiryu. And I won't say
investment,
it's impossible to get into this. I wish I could remember the exact what it is, but there's a good meme out there where somebody posts something like, hey, if you ever ask a comic book nerd, they'll always insist to you, no, you gotta wait, hey, they're going to reboot Spider-Man in 6 months. You got to wait for that. Or, oh, you have to go back and you have to start from issue number 50. That's when they, sort of kick things off with this new thing, blah, blah, blah. But it goes, but meanwhile, that exact same nerd started on an X-Men storyline midway through that they had to read 6 other things and spend an hour on a wiki to understand all the characters. And that's kind of where I would be at with this is, hey, if you're somebody who doesn't mind kind of, to a certain extent, jumping into something almost mid-story to a certain extent and being willing to go, all right, I need to just go back and look up something and figure out, who is this character? Why did they matter? What's going on here? Who's this clan? What's this story? Blah, blah, blah. You could absolutely enjoy it. You can absolutely get into it. And the Ichiban side, you really only need to play the last game for it. So
true.
It's mostly just the Kiryu stuff that's really going to require that. But I do think it's hard for me to sit here and go, oh yeah, Tristan, no, you should just pick this up without having played the 8 other games that came before it. You totally could enjoy it. It's not impossible for this to be the entry point for somebody. I just think it's the sort of thing that it takes the right kind of person who is just willing to go, you know what? If I'm going to sort of get into this, I realize that I'm just going to have to kind of jump into the water, get that initial freezing shock of it all, that confusion, and then eventually I'm going to get used to that cold and I'm going to be fine.
Exactly. Yep. That seems about right. That's kind of why I started off with Judgment, because I knew it was going to be not any of the Yakuza stuff, so like I could just dip my toe in and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it is kind of like starting a long running drama series at season 9. Meanwhile, that is a good point. Even though this is kind of a spin-off, that's interesting. But it's still...
It's not a spin-off. It's more like, hey...
Think of it as TV. It's sort of a spin-off.
Yeah, kind of. It's
really,
more of a, like... It's more of a, hey... don't watch enough sitcoms. The best I'm going to go is it's sort of like if Grey's Anatomy said, hey, remember this main cast of characters, their story's kind of done. So this season, we're going to bring in a bunch of new people. And that's kind of what it's like is we're not rebooting it. And some of the characters you remember are still going to be there. But, to make it easy for people to enjoy this, we got a bunch of new characters,
It's a spinoff. That's what it is.
No, because Judgment's the spinoff, right?
Yeah, in a way, I guess you're right. Because it's in the same city. It is also a spinoff. You could have two spinoffs.
Oh, they're literally involved together. Everybody except for the main guy in Judgment. I can't think of his actual name because everybody just calls him Tabo. He's the only character that basically has yet to show up in a Like a Dragon game.
Interesting. Okay.
Like his Yakuza partner who wears the satin golden shirts. He showed up
Kaito.
with his Kaito.
Yeah.
He showed up with the Yakuza. His the guy who really looked up to him and wore the blue suits. He showed up.
Oh yeah.
And then the two the blonde the blonde reddish haired kid, as well as the otaku dude with the really long hair that set up the agency in the second game. They actually have a cameo in this game briefly. They're just like, oh, hi. You're like, oh, it's those dudes. Cool. Yeah. So these are entirely within the same stories. It's just, hey, those characters are over there. These characters are here. It's a really good game. I really enjoy it. I do recommend people get into these games. And I think what I could recommend is, if you wanted to get into these, Judgment is definitely a really good entry point because you don't need any of these past games.
No.
I actually think the previous one, just Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon, the 8th game, that's a really good entry. And if you like that, I kind of suggest, then you could go back and play, 0 through 6 if you wanted to really experience that. Or you could just say, you know what, I don't need to experience those past. I don't mind being confused. I'll just play Infinite Wealth. But
that's where I would be. Yeah,
man, it's such an incredible game. I'll be excited to see what they do next, where things go from here. I do hope that whatever they do next, they do cut away a little of what they have done, that they say, we've had a lot of games with these past things. We're going to remove some of these mini games. We're going to remove some of these locations, and we will just tighten things down a little bit and make it a little more streamlined for people. But I definitely look forward to what they have. I am very glad that there should be a bit of a gap from the next game, because I started this with 0 and then Like a Dragon, and then I've done 1 through 6 and the Judgment games. Yeah. So in the last let me just look it up. When did 0 come out? So that came out in 2015, but when did it come to? I think Windows was a lot later than that. I think it was 2017. So we'll just say, in the last 6 or 7 years, I have played 10 or 11 of these games. 12, actually. It would be 12 games.
12 games, yeah.
I finished this, and I was expecting myself to be like, oh, I'm so glad I'm done with this. I'm so glad I'm going to have a break. I'm so tired of playing these. I finished it and was immediately like, boy, I wish there was another RPG game for me to play, because I love these stupid games. They're so good. I've played 12 of these. I'm still going, I wish there was another one that was coming out soon. That's
a sign that they're doing the job right. So, yeah,
yes.
I hear you. Yeah, I like Judgment a lot. I still haven't... I haven't... The series hasn't, totally clicked with me. I like what's there. I just need to kind of, give it some more... go ahead. I don't think I want to go back and play through the Yakuza series. I don't think I will, because my time is precious. Yeah, I don't have a lot of it. So
No, I don't blame anybody for not getting into this series. It's a lot. It's a big ask.
It is. So like, yeah, it's hard to kind of justify that, but like, I'm a little jealous of people who are already into the Yakuza series and know what's going on, because it seems like such a fun, cool, good time. So even as an outsider, I'd recommend, if you are thinking about getting into the Yakuza series and wanting to jump on somewhere, as an outsider and as a comic book reader, I would say pick your favorite and go from there. Yeah, because that sounds like your best bet, and I think that's just what you would want anyway. So, yeah, fuck it.
No, I totally agree. It's hey, if you've ever thought these things look cool, but there's a lot. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
Okay, look, just dive in. It's okay. You don't have to have experienced every part of it, every thing in it. And maybe you'll find, you know what, actually I want to do that. I want to go back and I want to see all these games. I want to experience everything. I want to know all these characters.
Sure.
But you don't have to. It's totally okay, you know, to just start midway through something and go, you know what, that's fine. You're just as much of a fan. You are still enjoying it as much as anybody else.
Yep.
Don't worry.
Exactly.
Look, if you want to start watching Coronation Street now, that's fine. You don't have to go back and watch the 70 years of it or whatever it is.
Hey, Downton Abbey, you want to jump on that in like season, what is it, up to like 20 something? Go for it.
No, there's not that many seasons of Downton
Abbey.
There
was. Maybe there wasn't. I don't know.
Oh, now I'm curious.
I know it's a long running show. If you want to like be like, hey, I want to start The Simpsons at season 25, I'd say don't do that. But
yeah, that's for different reasons though.
Maybe don't do what I'm doing, but don't do that.
Mostly because it's not as good.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think when it comes to comic books and series, and especially because they're viewing the Yakuza stuff and their games in general as like TV shows, I think you're primed to be like, this one sounds interesting, I'm going to do that. As opposed to, I got to play through all of it now. So, yeah. I think remove the intimidation factor and just do what you want.
Yeah, just dive in, have fun.
Yeah.
But if you're not into it, I get it, right?
Yeah.
I cannot in good conscience tell somebody, you should totally do this.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, is there anything else you want to say about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth?
Just that I wish it had more Goro Majima. I love that man, and his look and everything about him is fantastic.
Even I enjoy Majima, yes. I think everybody, yeah. Once you see the guy, you're like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's it for our show. You should tune in next time. My sunglasses are caught. Shit, I can't put my prop on. Fuck. Oh god. Oh, what's going on? There we go.
Oh no.
That's it for our show. Yeah. That's why Tristan's back. Fuck yeah. Go to our Twitter page, which is at EIFNIR. Go there and tell us how much you love Like a Dragon, or the rest of the Yakuza series, or whatever. Yeah. Or you know what? If you want to just like grab your jambe and hang out on the beach, that's cool too. I'll bring my guitar.
No.
I got some extra pooks for you. Don't worry about you. I got you, buddy.
Of course you would.
Yeah. Also, you should go to our Spotify and iTunes pages. Leave a review comment thing. Press the star button, whatever the fuck is there. Go to our YouTube page, which is, press buttons somewhere down here. I don't care which ones anymore. And then, like, if you want to, like, share our show with your friends, hey, you'd be, like, #1 in my eyes, man. Yeah.
You're so bad at this.
I'm pretty good at it. What are you talking about?
You don't even know how the internet works, Surfer Tristan.
There's buttons, and you log in. Is dial-up still a thing?
Yeah, no, it's still a thing, actually.
All right, cool. So what you do is you dial up into the internet, you do the stuff, you click the buttons where you can like see the video, and then you click more buttons. I'm pretty sure somewhere here or there. I'm not sure anymore. And then like that will somehow enjoy our show more, and then we get to enjoy the fact that you enjoy the show, and then you personally can join me on the beach in my dune buggy.
Well, I mean, the Doom Buggy does sound pretty fun.
It's pretty
anything
cool.
else there, Surfer Tristan?
You should also go to friendsofdjdane.com. That's the guy that does our music. djdane.com. He's pretty great. I'm blaring his music 24/7. It's either between that or Lens if you steal my sunshine. So like it's one of the two.
Oh, that is the worst song ever.
Yeah, but it's like a total beach summer vibe.
No,
man.
it sucks. I hate it.
If you steal my sunshine.
I hate you. No.
Anyway, that's it for our show. You should tune in next time for another episode of Everything is Fine. Nothing is ruined. See ya.
See ya.
Say it.